Alright guys, today we're going to use ChatGPT. You know, that AI resource that everybody's tapping into is real popular nowadays. We're going to ask it some questions and we're going to answer them. Pretty simple. I don't know what the questions are. She knows what they are, so.
I have a question for you.
Oh, okay.
Just before we get started.
Alright, go ahead and shoot.
You know, AI is kind of like weird for most, not most, but a lot of people are like, ugh, should we use AI? Like, how do you feel about that? Do you like AI? Are you confused by it?
You know, I am. AI is very powerful. It is very useful, and I think given the right directives and using the proper ways, then I think AI could be a great resource to use and to tap into. Now, I understand everybody's kind of fear about AI because it can get just a little wonky because, you know, it can just do anything. And it's so quick. It's really quick. You know, you can tap something in the AI and then boom, you get an answer right then and there. I can understand why it's a polarizing kind of topic of discussion. But if we use it for reasons like what we're using today, where we're talking about relationships, then I think it's great. Because, you know, we're not about to destroy the world with ChatGPT talking about how to be a better person for your partner. Yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess you do know the topic then.
Oh, okay.
How to be a better person. And I'm honestly just going to run my questions off of that topic.
Okay.
So,
I got you.
You are in the loop.
Well, thank you.
Thank
you for allowing me to be in the loop. What kind of questions are we tapping into with ChatGPT?
Okay. Well, I think I'm going to ask that.
Okay.
The first one is how to have a good relationship in 2023.
Type that into ChatGPT.
And just a disclaimer, this isn't fact, right? Like, obviously, it's not. They're not in relationships, and they don't know. And like,
yeah, AIs don't have relationships that we know of.
That, I mean, maybe they do. I don't know.
They could. They're in the digital cyberspace, so we don't know what's happening in the digital cyberspace.
Got a digital girl.
They might got digital girls. They might got digital. A lot of things going on out there. We don't know. We ain't in that space. Let's see what AI is talking about in regards to what is supposed to be in a healthy relationship. I'm actually very interested because, you know, it's a machine basically saying this is what humans need to do.
Yeah, and like the data that it's using. Who gave it to them? A healthy relationship in 2023 is characterized by several important aspects. Communication remains a vital foundation, with partners expressing their thoughts, feelings, and needs openly and respectfully.
Okay.
Trust and honesty are highly valued as individuals prioritize transparency and integrity within the relationship.
Transparency and integrity, okay.
Mutual respect and support are essential, with partners actively listening to each other and validating their experiences.
Right.
Additionally,
validating. Wow.
Validating. Okay. Additionally, healthy relationships prioritize personal growth, allowing individuals to pursue their individual interests and goals, while also nurturing their connection as a couple.
Wow. Each
relationship is unique, but these elements often contribute to a strong and healthy partnership.
That's what it said? That was the total answer in its totality.
That's it.
Wow.
I
mean, ChatGPT might know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? Because, like, there's a lot of points that I agree with. Validating your partner is one. You should always be trying to validate your partner and what it is that they have to say and what it is that they feel. They said the number one thing, the first thing they said was communication. Communication is key in a relationship.
That's the first part they said.
That's the first thing it said. So, like, I think he knows what he's talking about. What do you think?
I just want to know, like, where's this getting information from? I feel like my favorite part about that is, do I have two parts?
One of my favorite parts is transparency and integrity. Transparency and integrity are important. You should be able to, I think we talked about this last time, we talked about being open and honest. I think transparency kind of falls in line with that. And integrity is like just basically trust. You know, if you say something, I should be able to trust what you say.
Can you stand on it?
Can you stand on what you say with integrity? That is important.
Let's talk about that.
What?
Can you stand on what you say?
Shoot first.
Shoot first?
Yeah.
Which way am I shooting?
What does that mean to you?
I don't know. It just sounds like relatable.
Okay.
Being able to stand in something.
How so?
I think people, whether it's friends or family or more of an intimate relationship, I think people care about if you can stand on your word.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree?
Absolutely. Because, like, that's what I'm going to have to base my decisions off of. That's what I have to go off of. It's like if you say something, I'm going to start from here and then I'm going to go to there. But if you say something and it's not what you meant or not what you said, or I can't stand on it, I'm starting from here, going from there, when in all actuality, I'm supposed to be starting from all the way over here. Now I'm starting from the wrong place, going to here, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to be going in this direction. So it's like...
Because it's the wrong starting point?
Exactly.
Because they didn't say the right thing.
Exactly.
Is there space for people in a healthy relationship?
Right.
Air quote. Because what is that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different, so let's put that out there.
Right.
But
is there space for what?
Oh, is there is there space for people to come to a moment and not know what to say?
Absolutely, and I think that's where the validation comes in. One of the people in the relationship can say something. The other person is going to go and move in a direction based off of what was said. But sometimes people can try to speak and there are translation errors. So sometimes somebody might say something and the translation is different from what it is that they actually meant. So can you stand on that? No, because what needs to be translated, it has to be translated properly so that you can stand on it and y'all can be on the same page. But that's where validation comes in, because the person who is trying to go in a direction and they found out they're in the wrong direction, this person now has to validate the other person and what it is that they said, so that the other person can understand and feel, oh, it was just a translation issue. It's because what oftentimes happens, somebody will be like, well, you said this, blah, 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 blah. Now the other person's on the defense and they can't even really get back to what they were trying to say, because now they are defending themselves. And that's why it's important to validate your partner so that they can feel calm and then they can get back on the right track so they can translate what they originally tried to say in the first place.
Okay. Two things. So one, defense, and then two, translation errors. I don't hear a lot of people talking about that there's a possibility of having a translation error.
Yeah, translation errors are a big thing. Because think about it.
I have them all the time.
Because think about it. Like,
I do.
Okay, go think about it. Like, how many times have you been in a classroom, you heard the teacher say one thing, but it was totally different from what it is that you understood? Well, that kind of error can happen in your relationship all the time. Somebody can say something, you take it, translate it in one way, and it meant something totally different than what it is that they were trying to convey. So it's important to make sure that even if you're trying to go off what somebody says, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna stand in what I kind of believe in, or people need to say what it is that they mean. Everybody don't always have the ability to say what they mean, and there has to be space for that, because sometimes you can mess it up. And also too, another thing is that you can't have the expectation that everything that somebody's going to say 100% of the time is going to be translated correctly, because then that puts pressure on the person to try to 100% get it all the time, when we are humans and we commit human error all the time.
That was heavy.
It was.
Not heavy, but like, I feel like you take to have a breath at all. Like, you just were like...
You know, when I go in, sometimes I be going in.
Sometimes you do all
Sometimes
good.
I do, but...
I'm just thinking of questions as you talk.
So what do you think about translation errors on the topic of that?
I think they're real. Because I don't know about y'all, but like, for me personally, a lot of times when someone's talking to me, it takes me a second to process what they're saying and to process what to say back. That makes any sense.
Right.
Which has led to me often at times getting in arguments with people, because I say the wrong thing, even though like I might not feel that on the inside, but I'm trying to answer what I think that they are asking me. Yeah. And it's not it. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be like, I will stand in what I say. Yeah. And then they're like, that's not what I said. And then I have to like, then I would get defensive.
I mean, because that's what happens. You know, if like, Because if you do say something wrong, I feel like in our society at least, a lot of people will be like, well, you should have said what you meant. And then when somebody comes at you like that, you kind of like, you almost in a sense feel invalidated, because now they're basically saying whatever process or whatever thoughts that you were having was not right.
Yeah.
You know, and then now you feel offended because it's like, well, they were my thoughts and I had them at that time, so they were right to me at that time. You know, so now you got to defend yourself for feeling like you were right and feeling what you was feeling at that time, instead of being able to answer the question that you were trying to answer originally.
But you do a good job at validating, because since you can like validate like what I feel, I don't feel like I have to defend myself like I have previously, once or twice.
And I always haven't been good at validating. I didn't, when we first got together, I didn't know about validating somebody's thoughts. At first I was just like,
me neither.
At first I was just like, say what you mean what you say. You know what I'm saying? and for real,
and that's it.
And that was it. And because like that's kind of how we brought up to be. People are everywhere in school and at your job. With friendships. Everybody's like, you need to say what you mean and mean what you say. The first time. And get it right the first time. Because if not, we're going to have some issues.
Yeah. So I feel like I spent my whole life trying to defend the points when I was like having processing errors in the communication. But I feel like by you or anybody who chooses to validate their partner, friend, whatever they want to be, like, this is not relationships, I suppose, like partner in this case, but that does leave the person who had the communication error, they have to circle back and be like, oh, I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
So what I was speaking from was from this perspective.
Yeah.
When I think I need to be over here.
Right.
You have to circle back and you have to make space for like the translation error. And hopefully your partner is able to tell you like, oh, I get that. I get what you mean if you meant this perspective versus this perspective. So I think both sides have to be willing to kind of wiggle a little bit. I still think you can stand in what you believe in and say things, but you can be respectful about it at the same time. And remember the other person has a point or feelings based on their perspective in the world and their life experiences. So
yeah, you have to make space for misunderstandings, and because they will come, and when they arrive, you have to have a strategy to handle them. Because if you're just shooting from the hip off misunderstandings, then like you're just gonna be shooting at each other,
and you're gonna get hit.
Exactly.
So
and then the question won't be answered, because that's what you're here for in the first place.
You
know what I'm saying? I ain't here to shoot you. I'm here to answer the question. So it's like, you have to be able to make space for misunderstandings in your relationship, because if not, then everything's just not gonna work.
You have another question we can ask?
You was talking about defense.
Defense.
You said something about defense earlier.
Well, I think I kind of touched on it, because I was talking about mainly the defense piece and saying that like people usually, in my opinion, people feel like they need to defend because they feel triggered.
Yeah.
So I got a question. How to communicate triggers in a relationship?
You asking that to ChatGPT?
Yeah. Is that what you think about that question?
I'm interested to see what they got to say.
Oh, they have numbers.
Oh.
Itemized list.
Itemized list. It's still going.
Need all of it. It gave a very lengthy answer, and we don't need all of that. So
here's the paragraph that prefaces all of it. So it says, communicating triggers in a relationship is an important step in fostering understanding and supporting each other. I agree. Here are some steps that you can take to effectively communicate triggers. 1. Reflect on your triggers. Take some time to identify your triggers and understand how they affect you. 2. Choose the right time and place. Find a calm and comfortable environment where both you and your partner can have an open and uninterrupted conversation. 3. Use I statements. When expressing your triggers, use I statements to communicate how certain actions, words, or situations make you feel. For example, say, I feel anxious when, or I become upset when. Interesting. All right, so then it says, 4 says, be specific and provide examples. Clearly explain what triggers you and give what triggers you and give specific examples to help your partner understand the situation better. 5, express your needs. Clearly communicate what you need from your partner. 6, active listening. Encourage your partner to actively listen and ask questions for clarification. 7, practice empathy and understanding. Remember, triggers differ from person to person. 8, establish boundaries. Discuss and establish boundaries to prevent triggers from occurring. This can involve agreeing on certain behaviors, topics, or situations that are off limits or require sensitivity. And then 9, seek professional help if needed. Go to a therapist if you need to go see one. All right, so that's all of them.
So, okay. I like, personally, I like choose the right time and place. Because don't ask me about nothing in the public that's going to make me, like, cry or want to get loud. Or, I mean, I know how to, like, hold it together in public if something's, like, actually triggering me. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, chill. Like, why would you ask me a question like that in public?
Yeah.
You know? So, like, okay. So, I guess, how do you feel like couples can even get... Because we didn't always talk about triggers.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I mean, for real, I feel like triggers are becoming more relevant now than they ever have been, for real. Really. You know, I growing up and hearing about relationships, I didn't hear, hey, when you get in a relationship, make sure you pay attention to their triggers.
Me neither.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, it wasn't a thing to really think about other people's triggers when getting into a relationship or just hearing about it growing up. So...
Even with friends, I didn't think about my friends' triggers. I didn't even know I didn't even know that friends had triggers. I didn't even know I had triggers.
Yeah, I think it's a fairly new thing that's coming up in our society as far as like how to interact with people, you know, socially and in relationships. So I think I think all of us are really kind of learning in this aspect for real, because like I said,
like collectively?
Like as a collective unit, everyone, at least in this country at least, I don't really know anything outside of it. I think everyone collectively are learning what it means to trigger someone, what it means to avoid triggering someone, and what it means to be insensitive to someone's triggers.
Why?
I don't feel like it. I feel like, did you hear about triggers growing up?
You think it's cancel culture that?
I think so. I think cancel culture, even though people like dog it, I do think that cancel culture was a useful thing, because now people to a degree. I mean, it definitely has its pros and its cons. It's a very polarizing topic, but a positive that could be extracted from cancel culture is the fact that people are now more sensitive to other people's needs, their sensitivities, and whatever it is that people feel that might make them feel triggered. So now people are like, oh, let me make sure that I don't say this because this might trigger somebody. Even in movies and stuff like that. In movies and documentaries, they're like, trigger warning. They'll put trigger warning in the shows now. So it's it's good that people are making adjustments for people's sensitivities, because that breeds more inclusivity amongst people and in relationships.
What does inclusivity look like in relationships?
I feel like inclusivity...
What do you mean by that?
I feel like inclusivity in relationships is being inclusive to other people's boundaries. Like, if someone's like, hey, I don't want to talk about this, or I don't want to be this way, or I don't want you to do this, or I don't want you to do that, then I feel like now, since we're aware of triggers, I think people are like, okay, that makes sense. As opposed to being like, no, you need to do this because this is what a girl's supposed to do, this is what a man's supposed to do, blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying?
But is somebody, because this one too, a lot of people don't feel like they have to talk about their triggers with their partner.
Really?
I don't think they use those words, but I think if you like kind of look at it, I think it's a trigger that they're, you know what I mean? Like, they will avoid topics in conversation because just genuinely it probably just too sensitive for them.
Yeah.
And they just don't know what to do about that. So like, but I feel like from experience I'm learning that it feels better to be able to, if you do have triggers, to be able to express them with you.
I think, I agree. I think I think one, triggers should be talked about, and two, I think they should be respected. Some questions can unknowingly trigger someone, but I think it's on the person who is triggered to say, "Hey, raise my hand. This is something triggering for me. Can we shift the conversation to something different because now I'm uncomfortable?" And then I feel like the other party involved should say, "Oh, I'm sorry. Let's shift the conversation," and be sensitive to the other person's triggers. Because otherwise, you'll be having a conversation where one person's uncomfortable, and who wants to have a conversation while someone's uncomfortable in the midst of a conversation?
Yeah.
You know, that's not cool. I don't want to be uncomfortable in a conversation.
But is it emotional intelligence to be able to even tell that they're uncomfortable?
Yeah, I do think that emotional intelligence a little bit of it is involved, but I also feel like you can feel the vibe when someone is like, you know, it just kind of, it's like, you can feel it. You know, just like you can feel when somebody's enthusiastic and into you. You can feel when somebody's like,
yeah.
You know, you can feel that. So it's like.
So you can also feel when someone's like.
So you can also, if you can feel when somebody's like all in your face, staring you directly in your eyes and all that other stuff. If you can feel that, but you can feel when somebody's like kind of pushing away, just kind of like not even looking at you, just off camera. You know what I'm saying? Just like. Should
people take that as rude though? You know.
Take what as rude?
I feel like people can feel like if one person is like shy away from a conversation, it can be misunderstood as them being rude.
It could be misunderstood as rude.
What do you think that comes from?
But I think the thing is that like that comes from impatience.
You think?
Absolutely, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it comes from impatience because you don't know why someone's shying away from you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You do see someone shying away, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you should paint what it is that you see as this is the conclusion. You know what I'm saying? It's still up to you to ask, "Hey, I see you shying away. Are you okay?" Because you don't. I mean, even though you might have an inkling or you might have some kind of general understanding as what could be taking place, something totally different could be happening, and you have no idea.
You know what I'm learning, you guys, is that, I mean, you already know this, but like, everybody's living in their own reality.
Everybody, every single person.
Like, literally. So, what I could be experiencing inside my reality, he may not know anything about.
Yeah.
So what he could assume, or we'll switch it. I may not know what's going on in his reality at all. So I could assume that, I could assume a whole scenario about why you could be like pushing away from a trigger, you know, conversation. And believe it to be true, and it might not even mean anything to you at all.
Yeah.
It might not have anything to do with what you feel at all.
Yeah.
But just because in my reality it feels that way. So then people really have to kind of like be aware of their projections.
Exactly, and that's why I say impatience is because it's so easy to take someone being weird or being like this, and then saying, "Oh, they doing this because they cheating on me. They got somebody else that they talking to." All of that. You know, it's easy. It's so easy to do that, and that's where, and that's why you have to that impulse to do that. That's what it's a reflection of impatience, because when you see that and it might make you feel like that's what's taking place, you can stop yourself from saying that. Take a breath. Be calm.
But let's be real though.
And like just ask them what's taking place.
A lot of people have no idea how to stop themselves from popping off until they learn how to not pop off.
Yeah, Peter pop off, popping off.
Popping off. You know, like I know many of people who pop, okay? Like.
Yeah, this is true.
And it takes a minute to learn how to not pop off on somebody.
Yeah, it does take a minute to not pop off. If you are in the habit of popping off on people, then it will take some getting used to not pop off on somebody. I guess it's just, the thing is that it really just depends on what your goal is. If you have a goal to be in a relationship, in a healthy one, then you have to retrain your habits to not pop off, just to align with your goals. But if you ain't trying to be in a relationship and trying to be like that, you pop off all you want to, you know?
Yeah.
But if it's your goal to be in a healthy relationship, then you have to train yourself to not pop off.
Do you think people realize how much work relationships are?
No. Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
No, it's a full-time job.
It is a full-time job on top of your full-time job to be in a relationship.
On top of your other full-time job.
Yeah, on top of your other full-time job. Yeah. So, and the reason why I say that is because, like, you know, people get relationships and they get into it for whatever reason they get into it for, but it's so complex to be in a relationship that generally, if you're getting into a relationship for one thing, two things, maybe three things, then you're not going to hit all the complexities of what it means to be in a relationship. So you got to learn. And how do you learn? Experience. You just got to get into the relationship and figure it out. Yeah, failing. And you will fail. Yes, you will fail. I have failed.
I have failed.
A number of times.
A plethora of
failures.
But, you know, you do come back pretty educated.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's cool.
But that kind of highlights the importance of staying power. Like, if you're going to be in a relationship with somebody, then you have to, like, stay so that you can learn from your failures in the relationship.
Don't stay if it's toxic.
Yeah, if it's toxic. And the thing is, too, is that, like, you also have to recognize if the same effort is being put in on both sides. You know, because if one person is doing all the work, then you're not going to get much out of the relationship because it can't be one-sided. You know, you have, two people have to be in it together and want to make it work in order for it to work. That's just it. You know, you both got to have a goal of trying to be in a healthy relationship, because if not, then somebody's not going to hit their goal.
Why is it your goal? Is it your goal?
Is it my goal to be in a healthy relationship? Yes, absolutely. Why? Because I want peace. That's why. I'm doing it for the peace.
For the peace of mind.
Yes, for the peace of mind.
Okay.
Because if you can be in a healthy relationship, you can have peace of mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that's true.
I think it's very true. If you're not in a healthy relationship, more than likely you don't have peace of mind. And who don't want peace of mind? And there might be somebody who don't want peace of mind, but
peace.
Right, peace. I
don't see that. I'm not gonna go to Tinder. But you should look up peace. It's quite funny.
You thought one of the things that I thought was nice. Yours was space, talking about when to talk about
when and how
to talk about your triggers.
Yeah, y'all, please don't. Not please, but like, for me, it's not okay for me for him to bring up a big triggering topic in front of our families.
Nah, that's not cool.
I'm not gonna respond.
Yeah.
So it's unproductive.
That's true. One of the parts
of
ChatGPT. One of the parts of ChatGPT that I found very enlightening is the active listening, where it says encourage your partner to actively listen and ask questions for clarification.
Okay.
All right. This demonstrates their willingness to understand and support you better.
What? Now what? What number was that one?
That was, I think, number 6. Number 6. Why is number 6 so important? I think number 6 is important because a lot of listening has to take place in your relationship.
I'm a great listener.
You are a great listener.
Oh, really?
Indeed. Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
I was actually playing, but...
Oh, I was serious.
I'm okay. I've gotten better at listening. Active listening. I used to listen to try to respond, to try to defend. I used to listen to defend. Now I listen. Well, I guess I don't know why I listen right now, but I know it's better.
It's for clarity.
Clarity.
Yes.
Well.
Yes, because what happens is
I listen. Maybe this is clarity. I listen now to make sure both of us can feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Versus just only defending myself.
Yeah, I think clarity is not that. I think it's inside of what you're talking about.
It's a piece of it.
It's a piece of it, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yes, because what ends up happening if you're not actively listening to your partner, then it goes back to what we were talking about with the projection thing. Then you're just basically ready to just throw your projections out on what's happening instead of like taking in and molding your own mental space so that you can understand what's happening and taking it in and receiving it. Because what happens is, this is what happens. People talk, they clash. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? So then eventually somebody's gonna have to actively listen. Say one person's actively listening, other person's not. One person's actively listening and one person's not. Okay, so what happens is if one person is trying to talk to defend, then they already have an image in their mind of what it is they're going to do, their next step, or their next thing they're going to say.
This one's on fire.
This one's on fire.
And it's hard to put the fire out.
Exactly. Once it starts, the fire is hard to put in. But what could be happening is that the person could be communicating, and they could actually be trying to put the fire out, but they can't hear it because they already got this solidified. It's not moldable. You know what I'm saying? I got my answer right here already. I'm ready to go. As soon as I get space, ready to go. Bow! Bow! All right, so.
This is what people think our relationship's like, because I'm a Scorpio and he's a Leo. They're like, they think it's that.
Yes.
But this helps.
Mm-hmm.
The active listening.
The active listening.
It's probably what has saved it all.
Yeah, really.
Truly.
So because if you're not actively listening, then you already got something in your mind. But when somebody's communicating to you, they're trying to mold something in your mind so that you can take it, translate it, and receive it. But if you got something that already there, you ain't receiving nothing.
Take it, translate it, and receive it.
Yeah.
That's good.
Mm-hmm. Take, translate, receive. That's what needs to take place. In all communication, you got to take it, you got to digest it, and then you got to receive it. You know?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. And if you already got something in your mind that you want to say, then you're not taking it. You could take it, but then you're not translating it.
Putting it to the side.
You're putting it off to the side, you know? And then it's definitely not being received. Because you got to translate it within your own mind so that you can receive it.
As he thinks about you hitting the light.
Active listening is like key. So key. So key.
Say it again.
So key. Yeah.
So key.
Yeah. Active listening is like really, really key. And if you're not active listening to each other, then you're just gonna be just going back and forth. And who wants to do that? Nobody.
It wastes a lot of time.
It is.
Personal experience. It wastes a lot of time. Let's do one more question. Because surprisingly, this video is getting long already, and we just started talking.
Just started.
I thought I just started talking.
I know. We got so much to talk about on this topic. All right, you know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about. We had a party, and in the party, a question. We were playing a game. I think it's called Real Talk. And
thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Shout
Jim.
out Jimothy.
Jim has 2 M's.
Jim with 2 M's.
In
Jim
his
squared.
name. Jim squared.
Right. Y'all know Jim because he was on our poetry slam video. Yeah, they know Jim. We support Jim. So, he brought over a game, and one of the questions in the game was, should you have your partner's password to their phone?
And we already talked about this on this show?
Okay, well, what I wanted to get into, it was like I think it was like a very minute detail.
Okay.
The minute detail I want to get into it is suspicion of your partner. You cannot be suspicious in your relationship. Period. You cannot. It's easy. I don't think you ever felt suspicious of me. Not really.
Have you?
Yeah, not really. I don't think you ever felt suspicious of me. I mean, you might have. I
No,
think so.
when I felt suspicious of you, it was only because of my own insecurities. It wasn't like something to think about. Sometimes suspicion is like a you problem.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Sometimes it's not.
Sometimes not. But a good portion.
Sometimes it is, and that's okay.
Yeah. And it's important to take suspicion. If you feel suspicion, then you have to ask yourself, why do I feel suspicion? Because more than likely, your suspicion is going to be a projection onto whatever is happening. And if you have experience with your partner, like cheating on you and all that other stuff, then, I mean, of course, you're valid to have that, to carry that suspicion. But if you are just now talking to somebody and you don't have any valid evidence as to why you should be suspicious, then you might want to take a look at the reasoning as to why you hold that suspicion in the first place. Like you about to say something.
I'm just confused on what you want to focus on with this topic.
Just suspicion in general. Because the reason why I brought it up is because we talked about the phone thing. One of them, they was like, I don't want my partner snooping through my phone. We're basically saying that they don't want to give the password to them because they don't want to promote snooping if they have the password.
Well, I think it's also important to consider what stage of relationship are they in.
Right.
Because if you're in like the first couple weeks, some people are talking to each other too. Some people are talking to each other.
Right.
And they're not exclusive yet.
Yeah, that's just true.
So if you meet somebody,
there are levels.
There's levels. If you meet somebody in the first 2 weeks and gave them your password the first 2 weeks, you don't really know that person yet.
Yeah, you haven't built any kind of trust with them at all.
So, and if they do go looking, they might find something because they're not necessarily a committed relationship just yet.
Yeah.
So then they could find text or whatever from even a couple days before they even got together, but it's still fresh.
Yeah.
And then they could be like, oh my God, you're not trustworthy.
But the thing is though, is if you are not at that level, then you really shouldn't be on their phone in the first place.
I think so too.
Yeah, because if you are.
But does everybody think that though?
I mean, I feel like if you are not at a level to where y'all are exclusive, then what it is that person does in their free time is not really your concern, because y'all not exclusive.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you're not exclusive, then it's like everybody can just do what they want. But if you are exclusive, then you do what it is that person does is of your concern, because now y'all are exclusive to one another.
So you're saying passwords to phone past that stage?
Yeah, I'm not saying that once you become exclusive, then you give all the passwords and all that stuff. No, because you still got to build trust you got to build trust to get to that point. It would be hella weird if you get with somebody and you're like, hey, we're boyfriend girlfriend now, and then they're like, okay, here's my password. Now I want your password. No, that's a little weird. You know what I'm saying? That's a bit much.
Just immediately?
Yeah, just immediately. Just
here's my phone.
Yeah, here you go.
Take it.
Yeah, take it. Yeah. No. You know what I'm saying? We have not got to that point yet. We got to build to that.
Day one.
Yeah, day one. If somebody's all of a sudden, it reminds me of when we were talking about that movie, Fatal Attraction kind of stuff. You know, and you want that.
We were just talking about
Fatal Attraction, and that is something. That is something to be wary about, because there are people who are like that, who are fatal attractions.
The Beyonce movie.
Yeah, the Beyonce movie. I forget what it's called, but that girl was crazy.
She was crazy.
She was real crazy. You know what I'm saying? And that is something. And not to say that person who is doing the fatal attraction that there's something wrong with them. I don't want to say there's something wrong with them. I would just say that
right. Okay.
I don't want to bash that person for doing that or exhibiting that behavior.
Because again, triggers.
Because it's a trigger. You know what I'm saying? They're like that for a reason.
Yeah.
And we got to make space for that too. But you also, if you don't want to deal with that kind of stuff,
tread lightly.
That is tread lightly. Exactly. Tread lightly.
Right.
You know, if somebody is doing things like that, like giving you your password to your phone and just giving you all the secrets too quickly, it is cause for concern.
Is that a red flag?
It's not a red flag.
Is it
It's not a red flag, because there are people who do those kind of things just because they have a standpoint or a disposition where they feel like people are just good in the world. You know, there are some people out there that just oh yeah, people are good. Here's my password. Not saying there's a lot of them, but they do exist. So you got to make space for them too. But that's why you got to tread lightly and slowly so that you can know what you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? Who or what you're dealing with. So yeah, that's where the patience comes in relationships and stuff too. Full circle. You know, you really got to be patient in this relationship stuff, because it can go crazy real quick. You know, so building trust in a relationship takes time. Building trust in any connection that you have with any human being is going to take time. So whatever decisions that you make in relationships should be based on the trust that you've built, not really anything else for real, as far as like sharing things.
But if somebody feels like the other person's not moving fast enough?
There are people that are like that.
What if you were like, here's my social security card.
Yeah.
Here's my Netflix password.
Right. Here's my credit card.
Everything. And what if I'm just like taking it,
yeah.
and you're like, where's your phone password? And I'm like, ugh.
Oh, and then
and I'm like, why you? And
then you're not even going to give it to him.
I'm not gonna give you nothing.
And we'll see. I think at that point, that person will understand. Okay, maybe this person doesn't trust me like I trust them. You know, it's just like it's okay to be on two different pages when you're talking to somebody, recording or whatever you want to call it. It's definitely a real thing. You know, you're not gonna be ready to trust somebody just because somebody is ready to trust you. It don't work like that. You gotta build it. But the thing is like you gotta be patient with building trust with people, because everybody builds trust differently, because they all have unique experiences that cause them to trust people in the way that they trust people.
Unique differentiators, if you will.
Exactly.
Exquisite.
Well, if you're in a process of like talking to somebody, you're not exclusive yet. You're in a trust building stage, and when you're in that trust building stage, I gotta pay attention to what is making you feel like you trust them, and vice versa.
Do you feel like trust building the stage of trust building is singular?
No, I think it's an ever evolving thing.
I think so.
For sure. I do think it's an ever evolving thing, but there is a foundation of trust that I feel like has to be built before you can like try to make it evolve. You know, I feel like when you first get with somebody, you trust them for whatever reason you trust them before you even met them. You have a system of what makes you trust somebody before you meet anybody. But then once they pass that level, then you can evolve your trust into whatever it is going to be later. But until then, you got to meet that bar line.
I was gonna say, as each person evolves and grows in the next stage, you have to like reset the trust.
Yeah.
Because it's a whole new person.
Well, I don't know if you completely reset it, because like
I'll build on it.
You definitely build on it for sure.
Because like I just feel like we trust on a whole deeper level than when I was like 23.
Yeah, it's because we built it that way.
What do you mean?
That's how we built the trust.
To
the way it is now. Every single day we've been together, we've been building trust with each other.
Okay.
And the reason why you trust me in the same way that I trust you is because we built it together.
So you're saying, like, the answer to the question is what you're saying that we do?
What's the question? I didn't know you felt like it was. Is there a question? I think I was originally talking about suspicion and trying to talk about how suspicion does not need to be in a relationship.
So I've just lost. I got off track.
I mean, it happens. It's okay.
Okay. That's fine. I was just like, what are we talking about? Like,
we just talking about a whole bunch of different stuff.
We just talking.
I mean, there's so much you can talk about in relationships that like because of how complex it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, all of it was valid points. And I don't think I've heard anybody when I was growing up talking about how to handle suspicion while building trust with somebody.
I didn't.
No, not at all.
I've never heard that. So
yeah, if you feel like if you are in any kind of connection, relationship, any kind of experience with another human being, in whatever interaction, if you are feeling suspicious of them, then that's a good indicator that you probably don't really need to be hanging out with them all the time, or that you don't really trust them like that, or they're probably not as close to you as you might think they might be close
or you aren't cool with yourself.
Or you're not cool with yourself.
That one is slept on. I swear it is. Everybody's always looking outward and they're like, they did something to me, yada, yada, yada. look at yourself just for like a second. Sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look up and you're suspicious of everybody that you're around, then the common denominator is you. Mm-hmm. You know, so
like for real,
it really is you, because you should not be in an environment. Now, if you're at work, it's a different thing because it's your workplace. But generally speaking, you don't want to put yourself in positions or an environment where you are suspicious of everybody and everything around you. Because now you cannot tap into trust. And if you can't tap into trust with the people around you, then you won't be able to trust yourself either.
This thing used to put on the radio a long time ago, and it would say, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. And I was little and I'd be like, what? But that was a word, y'all.
Yeah.
That was a word.
Word.
If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. That's the lesson of the day.
That's the lesson of the day. Change people around you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it.
How do you feel about ChatGPT?
ChatGPT. I think it's nice. I think it's cool. It sounds like it's pretty well rounded. It sounds like it knows what it's talking about. It sounds like it's very informed.
As if it's been in a long-term relationship.
Yeah, it might have a long-term relationship.
I would.
You never know. We don't know what AI's doing.
I don't know what AI's doing.
We don't.
AI don't like.
Let's see.
Because listen, I just feel like even though ChatGPT gave us like a book's worth of knowledge, right? Still take it with a grain of salt, because obviously it's AI. So,
and personal experience matters.
Personal experience matters a lot.
Yeah.
You gotta learn how to grow. But this was cute. This was fun. I do want to ask ChatGPT more questions because.
Yeah, we might do it part 2. We'll see.
I don't know. We shall see.
Thanks for joining us. As always, we appreciate you all for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
Like, comment, and subscribe, and share.
Right, sharing is important.
Please.
Because sharing is caring.
Sharing is don't you want to share and care?
Yeah.
I know you do. So, that's all I got for the day. Do you want anything to say?
I don't have anything else to say.
Alright, y'all.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in. We'll catch you on the next video.
Bye.
Peace.